What's up, my beautiful Caspa family? How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to another live stream. Today, we got a few things to talk about. Some good things and some bad things, depending on who you are. Make sure that before we get started here that you pay your bar tabs and hit that like button and the subscribe button before you exit the bar on your way out. Now, also, hitting that subscribe button will also get you entered into winning 10,000 Caspa once we hit 10,000 subscribers. So make sure that you hit that button for free. Takes 2 seconds. And let's get started. Jose, Riley, Brocco, welcome in. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out again. How's everyone feeling today? I think the market is red again, which is becoming commonplace and very standard in today's crypto space. Let me just take a look real quick. We're about the same. Yeah, we're kind of not moving around all that much. We had a pump this morning based on the first topic that I want to talk about, and that is the U.S. labor reports. Let me pull up the internet here real quick. And if I can find the button. Here. Okay. First things first. The Fed greenlights our interest rate cuts. Sorry. Let me start over. The Fed greenlight for interest rate cuts as unemployment rate jumps to a 4-year high. Now, title of the video, bad news equals good news. For the normies and regular people out there, unemployment rate going up is not a good thing, right? People are having a harder time finding jobs. Businesses aren't hiring as much. Whatever the situation may be, probably a mixture of both. That is not good for the normal person out there trying to find a job and make some money to pay their bills and feed their family. Hopefully nobody's in dire situations. But for people like us who invest in the market, we know we need bad labor report. We need unemployment rate to go up short term in order for the Fed to finally, after, in my opinion, waiting too long already, to cut rates. And the market that we all invest in, crypto market, right, stocks will be part of that as well, to a lesser extent because it doesn't move as much, right, percentage-wise. But that is what is going to help kind of lighten the load of macro behind the scenes and allow people to start feeling comfortable putting money back into the market. So I'm not going to read all of this because nobody here probably cares, and I don't really care, but unemployment rate rose to 4.3% from 4.2%. So that's not even that big of a jump, but it's enough to be negative, right? And the U.S. economy added just 22,000 jobs. I think their target was 70,000, so they were way under. All in all, I was praying and hoping for this type of report to come out because I am extremely annoyed with the market that we're in right now, and all I want is rates to be cut, macro to change back to the positive, and our altcoins can go up. so that we can finally make these profits that we've been waiting for, all of us entered the market at different times, but some of us been waiting for 4 years. And it's been getting a little bit annoying. Now, I think the plan, right, is going to play itself out. And I still think that there's a solid chance that we get a really quick, fast spike in altcoins at the end of this year to have our blow off top altcoin season. They'll move very fast, very violently, very quickly. Though that doesn't necessarily, how do I say this? I guess that's not 100%, right, guaranteed. And I still think that there is a small chance that we actually do move into next year. I don't think that that is my base case at this point. If we get to the end of the year and nothing is really moved still, and we're still kind of in the same area, or we've only, gone a 2 or 3x in all altcoins, then maybe we have a little more to go into next year, and we'll deal with that as it comes. But I still think that the largest percentage chance is still the end of this year based on prior cycles. But I think right now what they're doing is they're just boring everybody out of the market. And they've been doing this for a while, right? We'll get little spikes here and there where everyone gets excited again just to go right back down sideways. And we're in that sideways range again. Super boring. I know the vast majority of you guys feel that too. Very annoying. And all I want to see, basically all I want is to get to the end of this cycle already. It's been way too long and way too stressful. And I just want it to come and go. We get our profits, and we can set up finally for the next cycle. Right, clean slate with a lot more money in our pockets to be able to invest in next cycle. And then the waiting game begins again. But I think right now basically what's happening is they're gonna bore to death all the lettuce hands, the paper hands, make them convinced that we are going into a bear market before they light the rocket fuel for a very what I think is going to be, and I could be wrong about this, but I have a feeling we're going to see a very fast, violent, short altcoin season, kind of like we did in 2017 at the end of this cycle. And we'll see if that happens or not. But that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. 2021 was kind of a more drawn out alt season. And it started kind of in 2020, right? And there was sideways periods, but it was like stair-stepping up. Whereas this cycle, kind of like 2017, altcoins didn't really move until like November of 2017. And I kind of have a feeling we're going to see that same scenario play out here. And the interesting part about that, I know I've said this before, is that in 2017, Donald Trump had taken office, right? Or maybe it was 2016. So Donald Trump was president during that 2017 altcoin cycle and end of the bull cycle. And now, interesting enough, he's in office again, and we're kind of seeing very similar patterns to that cycle. It kind of makes you wonder. So, the CME here. Let me move this over a little bit so everyone can see it. Rate cut chances of a rate cut this month have jumped to 92% now. And this is for a 25 basis point rate cut. But what's interesting, given, this isn't a very large percentage at 8%, but for a 50 point rate cut, it went from about 2 to 8% today. So it did jump up a little bit from the news of the labor report this morning. So interesting fact. Nonetheless, it looks like there's almost a 100% chance, right? 92, that we are going to see a rate cut this month. And what we're seeing right now, right? We saw a little pump this morning, but the market's crashed afterwards, and I think we're going to form a bottom in Bitcoin and in altcoins this month before we really actually start what I would consider the final phase of the bull cycle. Whether that ends at the end of this year or goes into next year, I'm still not 100% sure about that, although I've given you guys what I think is going to happen. Nobody actually knows, and except for those market makers that actually manipulate the markets, right? They manipulate the markets. They know exactly where things are going, when things are going, and everybody who's in the know, that's why they make a ton of money, because they know exactly when to buy and exactly when to sell. Whereas we are guessing, right? We're based on data points, based on, everything that's going on in the market. We kind of get to pinpoint certain things and kind of guess when things are getting overheated, when we should sell, but we don't have exact dates like these other people do. So, unfortunately, all of us influencers get on here and say, be patient, be patient, be patient every single day. It's extremely annoying, I'm sure, for people watching, but, that's just what we have to do. And those of you who can be patient the longest are going to reap the rewards, and that's basically the bottom line. I watch other YouTubers as well, and people basically say the same thing. Every day it's, market's crashing. Is this the end of the cycle? Is their headline? Or when the market pumps, the start of alt season has started. And it just, every single day, it's back and forth and back and forth. And it's got to be extremely annoying for everybody out there watching those when you get a different narrative every single day. So, patience is literally what's going to win out in the end, right? In investing, that's generally what happens anyways. But enough of the boring stuff. I want to show you guys an article that I found, which I'm going to let you know right now there's zero credibility here. But I thought it was funny because all of these like mainstream companies that put out these random articles about cryptocurrencies, they have no idea what they're talking about. And the title here is, Could Caspa Rally in September? And then the best crypto to buy now. So they talk a little bit about Caspa and how it's been in a bearish pattern for a while and downtrend and blah, 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 blah. Well, over here, it says, well, let's start here. Overall, Caspa's facing some heavy resistance at the time of writing as a result permanently stuck in the 8-cent range, meaning that September may turn out to be a pivotal month for the token. At the same time, other predictions are equally undefying. With some sources, listen to this, guys. Are you ready for this? Make sure you sit down. Some sources predicting Caspa to reach 9 cents in December of this year. 9 cents. I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. I would probably strip naked and run through my neighborhood because I would be so ecstatic with a 9-cent Caspa in December. The same analysis projects that February 2026 price could be between 9.1 cent and 9.4 cents. Right? And then we even have a bigger prediction down here of an 11-cent Caspa by the end of the year. Absolutely crazy, I know. Hopefully you guys were sitting down so you didn't pass out of thrill and excitement, because that's exactly what happened to me when I read it for the first time. Could you imagine a 9 to 11 cent Caspa to end the cycle? And then the reason why these people have no idea what they're talking about is they go on to say that Chainlink and Polygon are two of the best projects to buy for the rest of this cycle, because they're safe and people know about them, basically. And so, they always have to go back into, the normie coins. You can never stay outside the normie coins for people like this. So, I thought that was funny, but clearly nobody ever takes into an account when they're writing articles like this either. They're just trying to be safe, and they don't account for like parabolic phases of the cycle. But on a brighter note, check this out. We have a new streaming platform built on Caspa, and I want to bring this down or up a little bit so you can see. Well, maybe I can't. No. Well, it's not allowing me to, for whatever reason. It's allowing me to do that. Oh, there we go. Just so you guys can see the name in the top corner here. Vivor, or Vivur. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. No other streaming platform has really gained any steam. YouTube's obviously the biggest one. Maybe Caspa defies the logic, of everything else and is successful. But nonetheless, the main point about me showing this to you is the fact that there are projects that are going to build, legitimate projects on top of Caspa, and they're already starting to come out of the woodworks. I haven't signed up for this. You have to create an account and everything. I don't even know if you can yet, because if it's going to be, built on top of Caspa, smart contracts aren't out yet. So I don't know, what kind of functions there are here. I haven't played around with it yet because I just saw it, but I thought it was cool anyway. It's just interesting to start to see, some of these newer projects that we're going to start seeing and hearing about more, come hopefully this month. I think Caspador actually said this month at some point. I saw him reply to a comment on X where somebody was questioning when smart contracts were actually going to be released now, and he said this month as a response to that question. So your guess is as good as mine on the day, but at least he didn't, or they did. Sorry, I shouldn't say him. They, as far as Casplex goes, didn't give an exact date again, so that gives them some leeway to just make sure they get it, launched by the end of the month. And sneaky suspicion that they're waiting for certain, things to happen. Maybe rate cuts. Maybe the last thing you want to do if you're a project that wants some hype behind it is to launch when the market's going down. And that's exactly why I think Tier 1s haven't listed it yet, because, again, they're businesses. They have to buy the token, and they don't want to list the project and start selling the token potentially below the price that they bought it for, right? If the market decides to, have its final correction, or a correction in general, then anybody who's buying, let's say they bought it for 7 cents, and the price falls back to 4 or 5 cents, then, Binance or whoever it is that, people are buying it from are actually taking a loss on that coin during that period of time until the market goes back up. So it makes 100% perfect sense for them to wait until Caspa's price is above, right, what they paid for it, and probably significantly above, and the signs of macro and the market in general are just on their way up, and we know that we are in a clear altcoin season at that time. And that's when I think we'll get some of those. If not any other, I think Binance for sure. And that's just me guessing. But we're also looking at everything that they have done, everything that they have teased, and the fact that they are consistently still talking to Wolfie on a weekly basis, asking and making sure they're up to date via code and everything behind the scenes. And it would shock me if we did not get a Binance listing. It wouldn't necessarily shock me if we didn't get a Coinbase or if we didn't get a Crypto.com, because there hasn't really been a ton of hype and I guess known conversations back and forth. But Binance there has been. And honestly, I think that if Caspa, if Coinbase or Crypto.com do launch, and it's out of the blue with no speculation that they were going to launch, I think that is 1,000 times more bullish. And I think that would potentially pump the price even higher, because nothing's, built in to the price at that point. Nothing has been speculated, and it's all of a sudden, oh wow, this just happened. The biggest U.S. exchange in Coinbase just listed Caspa, and nobody was expecting it. I think that would be extremely bullish for the price movement of Caspa. That's just my opinion. I know I've seen some surprise listings from some of these tier ones, and if it's done at the right time and nobody's expecting it, the price movement is astronomical. So I think that would be a better scenario, personally. Binance, right, has already been speculated. We're not going to get past that, but the surprise listings would be extremely fun, in my opinion. So you guys should go check this out. It's Vivoor, VIVOOR .xyz. Maybe I'll link it in the video once I'm done here. They also have an X page if you wanted to go find that. There's a bigger logo because you can kind of see what it looks like. And then their website link is straight from their page here. They have 200 followers. They're brand new. They joined in August, the end of last month. So kind of cool. It's just fun to start seeing some ecosystem projects starting to pop up. So whether they're successful or not, some of them will be, some of them won't be, right? It's like that in every ecosystem, but nonetheless, they're starting to come out of the woodworks, and it's going to be fun to start talking about some of them as well. And there will be some diamonds in the roughs as well. I don't know if these guys are going to have their own token or not. I would imagine that they would, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know much about them yet. Let me know what you guys think about the 9-cent December price prediction for Caspa, though, and how excited that you potentially are for that. All right. Let's do some Q&A. Let's answer some questions. Let's hang out with the people. Jose says, good evening, all. Good evening, Jose. Riley says, yo. Brocco, what's going on? Cheers. And Ben says 10th or 11th of September for smart contracts release? Potentially. I don't know for sure. I don't have any inside information. I've just been told it is this month. And honestly, I don't really care which day of the month it is. As long as they don't postpone it again, that would probably not be a good look. In my opinion. You should make some cocktail NFTs or something to serve at your bar. Yeah, I should. You know what's funny is I've thought about. The problem is it's a moral thing. Like anybody who launches a token, like a meme token or an NFT, to try and make money, they just seem super shady. And I don't want to be that person. Which is why I haven't done anything like that. Although I've had some cool ideas. The last thing I want to do is launch something and have somebody buy it, and then the price ends up going to zero out of nobody's control, and then I'm responsible for people losing money, and that's not what I want. Because I don't know if you guys have seen the. Not that I want to get into this that deeply. The tweets from, I think it was the meme coin Kurt, which was, I believe, a base chain meme coin, which was supposed to be like the cousin of, what's that? What's the biggest meme coin on base? Hold on, I own some of it, and I can't think of the name. Let me, Brett. Yeah, so it's supposed to be the cousin of Brett or something like that. Well, apparently, I don't know who reached out to who, but Archetype and Crypto Galaxy, they had their screenshots doxed on Kurt or Bert, I think it was Kurt, X page for asking for like $20,000 plus 1% of the token allocation to shill and create buy alerts for those tokens, right? And they have pretty big audiences, and they tell their audience to buy something, and I would imagine they're dumping that 1% as soon as the price gets to a certain amount of X's after they, buy alert. And what that's doing is causing people who trust those guys to lose money. And I don't think that that's right. Morally, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I would never, ever take money to shill a meme coin, ask for 1% of the allocation, and wait for the price to 10x and then dump it, right? Well, everybody that I am responsible for making buy this coin, loses all the money that they put in, and that's just not cool. So it's things like that make me not want to do anything, even though it would have good intentions behind it. I still wouldn't be able to live with myself if anybody lost money. So that's the reason why I haven't done any NFTs, or God forbid a meme token for that matter. Because I've even had good ideas for something like that too, but I just can't do it. I'll never go to the dark side. What's up, Jack? Cat Dad. Riley, what do you guys think of Shy's latest posts? What's funny is I see them, but he talks in such big words that it literally just goes, my brain can't handle it. And so I don't know which ones you're talking about. But he still seems to be, in some of his posts at least, I've seen him backing Caspa and some of the things people have said, but I've also seen him talking shit again. And I just kind of disregard all of that because he's not even with the project anymore. So I don't know exactly which one specifically you're talking about. But I try and start to read his posts. And then usually a few words in, the words get too big for me to understand. and he loses me right then and there because I can't comprehend what he's actually saying. Smart guy, very smart guy, obviously. Smarter than I am. But, I mean, at this point, I don't know that I would really worry about at least anything negative he's saying because he's not really part of the community anymore. At least, you know, not how he used to be. Mila. Hello, KD. And all of the people here. Waiting game becomes very brutal. So tired of that. But nothing we can do about it. Just wait more. Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely rough. And even I, like, it's hard to... There's a reason why some weeks I don't make a lot of videos. Because it's extremely hard to get on and try to, rile everybody up and be positive when, it's literally saying the same thing every day. If there's no new news, I don't want to just come on and say, hey guys, Caspa's at a great buying opportunity at 8 cents. Make sure you buy as much Caspa as you can. And then that's my video for 5 days in a row, There actually is some people that do that, and I just don't. I'd rather make it worth your while to sit down and watch rather than just to tell you again and again and again the same exact thing and bore everyone to death with, exactly what I just said. Buy Caspa, 8 cents. Anything below 10 cents is a great buy. And it is. But, like, how many times can you hear someone say that before you're, like, yawning and not want to watch them talk anymore? So that's the reason. Some weeks I make quite a few videos along with this live stream, and then some weeks, if you don't see me, I didn't die, I didn't go away. There's just not a whole lot to talk about, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. And scrounging for, things to talk about that are different when there's no updates, no news, no nothing. It's just, I feel like wasting people's time. So that's the reasoning if you guys see me like this past week where I didn't really have any videos come out. Unless I get an overwhelming vote of that's what we want to hear every day, then I'm not going to do it. And I could probably bet that nobody wants to hear that same spiel every single day. But the times will get better, right? Smart contracts will come out. New projects will start to launch. Price will start going up. The atmosphere around crypto will get better. Euphoria will start. And then it'll be a lot easier because there will be updates to talk about. There will be price movement to talk about. There will be fun times ahead. So that's when you'll start seeing me a little bit more often. But yeah, waiting is brutal. I 100% agree. Tim Allen. Have you seen Investor Bros? Tim Allen, I think that's his name. Thoughts on 4-year cycle being dead. Makes a lot of sense now that big smart money has their talons in crypto market. I haven't seen him directly say it, but I have seen other people say that. My thoughts on that, though they could be right, the big boys are still going to want to get they're still going to want to get their crypto at a lower price. And I don't think this is the year we're just going to start seeing stock market type movement from crypto. There was technically some big players in last cycle as well. We still had a bear market. Obviously, there's more now. There's ETFs. So, it's vastly more big players and institutions. And you got to think, too, that the business cycle in general is 4 years, right? That was the case before crypto even came into the space. And so we're still going to have volatility. Is it going to be as much? I still think it will be this cycle, going into next cycle. At some point, though, he's probably going to be right. Once crypto as a whole, you got to think it's barely adopted still. Bitcoin in general, like 1% of the population or less, a fraction of a percent of the population still invest in Bitcoin, let alone crypto in general. And so we, being in the space, think it's everything and a lot bigger than it actually is if you go out into the real world. I don't think we're at that point yet, personally, where we're going to see very, very small drawdowns in a bear market. I still think the BlackRocks and all of those people that are now heavily invested into Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto in general, they're going to want to sell at the top, and they're going to want to buy cheaper. And I think we're going to see another 80 to 85% drawdown from Bitcoin again. In theory, should be in 2026. That's just what I'm thinking is going to happen, right? So I could be wrong. And Tim Allen, which is not his name, by the way, I don't think. It's Tim something, but it's not Tim Allen. Funny. He could be right. I don't know. There's other people saying the same thing. I'm just going to continue to base everything on history until history proves me wrong. So I'm expecting that, and you know what? People said the same thing last cycle as well as extended cycles, as well as the cycle is going to top out earlier. And what ended up happening? Everything happened just as it did the previous cycle, with slight variations, but it topped out at the same time. It wasn't extended. We still had a bear market where Bitcoin went down 85% and all the altcoins went down 90 to 99%. And I think that's still going to happen again this time around. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But typically the bottom, right? And this is why I say don't base things on price movement and prices in general. Base it off of where we are in the cycle, right? So let's say we get to, I think it's like 16 months or 14 months after the peak is usually when the bottom of the bear market is, and that's when you're getting Bitcoin for the best price, right? And so if we get to that point in time, which is going to be like the end of 2026, I believe, or very beginning of 2027, roughly in that time frame, then, and Bitcoin hasn't dropped 85% and it's only dropped, 55%, then that might be our bottom. And then what, Tim is saying is partially true. So we'll see. That's why timing is better than price action. Until the timing changes too, and then then it's going to throw everybody off. But I don't think this is that cycle. Brocco says 11-cent Caspa would be amazing. Actually, you know what's funny is it actually would be amazing right now. As a first step towards, everybody would actually get pretty excited with 11-cent Caspa right now, based on the movement that we've had in the past year. But in December, if we're sitting at 11 cents, I'm going to be worried. Hey, Kat, can't wait for DeFi. I think you mean DeFi? DeFi? Decentralized finance? To come to Caspa. Will be huge. Yep. It will. And obviously when there's a bunch of stuff that you can play around with and lend and borrow and do whatever the hell you want to do inside the ecosystem, it naturally will bring more users. But what we really want to see is the steady growth of users over time, right? And so that's what I'm going to be really watching too in the bear market is a bunch of behind the scenes fundamentals, just like I did with Solana last cycle, where everybody said it was dead because of FTX. It was like combined at the hip with them. And it went down a lot, right? From like 250 to excuse me, to $8, and everyone said it was dead because FTX failed. And everything I looked at behind the scenes said differently, right? Wallets were still increasing, TVL was still increasing, like everything. On-chain data said differently than what the media was saying. And so I bought a hell of a lot of Solana between $8 and $20, and that worked out very well for me. So I'm going to watch kind of the same type of metrics just to make sure Caspa is moving in the right direction this bear market. It makes 0 sense. I don't know what that's referring to. Oh, just manipulation. Yeah. Yeah. The whole market's manipulation. You guys got to remember that there's puppeteers at the top, right? Pulling strings and doing whatever they want to do, and we just have to position ourselves as best we can to take advantage of certain time windows, right? Buying and selling time windows. And that's all we can do. We're not privy to any of that information. But when they're ready to open the floodgates will open. Whether that be fourth quarter this year, like I think it's going to be, whether it's going to be quarter one of next year, which I still think there's a small percent of chance, not a big percent of a chance, or whether they go all the way through 2026, completely break the 4-year cycle, make it a 5-year cycle, we top out in Q4 of 2026, which would throw everybody off, right? When they're ready to open the floodgates, they will open them. And we just have to be ready when those floodgates open to start taking our profits. That's basically what we have to do. It's literally that simple. All this day-to-day stuff is garbage. And we get, everybody gets caught up in it because it's boring, it's emotional, it's this, it's that. And obviously we want to make money, and it's annoying when it's going sideways for ever and ever and ever. But, you zoom out, and literally the only thing we have to wait for is the floodgates to open. For the powers that be, they push the button, the price runs up, we take our profits along with them. That's all we have to wait for. And eventually it's going to happen. Typically Q4 of post-halving years, right? It's technically the midterm years or election years because the business cycle, that 4-year business cycle has been going on longer than crypto's been alive. And Satoshi kind of set up Bitcoin to follow those 4-year cycles. So it matches perfectly. I would say that the halving isn't as important as the macro. There's people that would differ with me probably, but the 4-year macro cycle has been around way longer than crypto, and that's just what we have to wait for. So maybe they make it a 4 1/4, year cycle this year, or one cycle, so that it throws people off. Who knows what's going to happen? But bottom line is, be patient, wait for the floodgates to open, and then take your profits. That's all you got to do. Zoom out, zone out the day-to-day BS, because in the long run, it literally doesn't matter. Ims says, when in the world are we gonna pump? That's a good question. Seems like it's never gonna happen, huh? One thing I can tell you is it will happen. And my best guess is probably November, maybe starting in October sometime. But I don't know for sure. The only thing I can tell you for almost certain is it will happen. It's just you got to be patient and wait for, like I just mentioned, the floodgates to open. Those powers that be and those market makers will open the floodgates at some point. That I'm pretty almost 100% sure. They want to make money too. And they've been doing it for generations. It's not new. Shabashan, please expose Crypto Galaxy, who is a liar and a scammer. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that road, even though I just kind of mentioned him. I'll mention things like that here and there. I'm not gonna make dedicated videos to stuff like that, even though it would probably get me a lot of, it would get me a lot of views, probably. But I obviously don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. You can speculate. Could there be a world where the person, that Kurt or Bert or whatever coin that was, falsified those images and none of that actually happened? Maybe. I don't know. And what I don't want to do is speculate on something I'm not 100% sure of. But I will tell you guys, be careful. To anybody who has, and this isn't just those two YouTubers, it's anybody who has $200 a month paid groups where they're giving you buy alerts to hundreds of meme coins. There's a potential for that to happen, and I'm sure people make money from that, right? The savvy ones will see those buy alerts from those guys and ride the wave and sell. A lot of people won't, though, and they'll lose money. I'm sure it benefits some people, which is why I'm not gonna go down that road for speculation, although it's probably warranted speculation. Michael says, how many tier 1s can Caspa really get in the next 2 to 3 months? This is horrible price for Caspa. You'd be surprised how fast it happens. Just like the price right now, where it seems like it's impossible for it to go up, it will go up at some point. I think in Q4. The same thing's going to happen, or can happen, with tier 1 exchanges. Don't quote me exactly on this, but I think it was Polygon and Phantom, and I think there was a couple others. I think it was those two that I remember correctly, though. Last cycle, they got listed on multiple tier 1 exchanges in the parabolic phase of the cycle within like days of each other, and it made the price go absolutely haywire. They like 100x'd in a very short amount of time. So it can happen, is what I'm trying to say. Once we get into the parabolic phase, providing we actually get one this cycle, things get so crazy that you almost can't believe what's happening in front of your eyes. Is almost the best way I can explain it. Every day you wake up, you're refreshing your portfolio and your phone literally within seconds of each other because the price is moving that fast. And every time you refresh, your portfolio is higher and higher and higher and higher. And then it'll correct very quickly, very shortly, and then it just goes again and again and again. And it's, for those of you guys who haven't been in one of those phases, the best way I can describe it is you just can't believe. The euphoria is there, right? It's almost like the best feeling in the world, and you cannot believe what's happening in front of your eyes. You're just like in constant disbelief and good mood. It's pretty crazy, and it happens in a very short period of time. So during that period of time, so many different things happen. And it's just chaos. Legit chaos. And market caps go to valuations that are absolutely nonsensical. There's no reason, right? That meme coin, or even, pick any project, 325 on CoinMarketCap should be at 100x from where it was just a month ago, right? Probably no one's using it. Maybe an exchange listed it, and that's why. Like, it becomes very crazy very fast. And I've seen other projects get exchange listings, multiple of them in very short periods of time last cycle, within days of each other. And it can propel, along with everything else that's going on in the market, prices of cryptos beyond what you think are even possible in a market. And providing we get one of those same, parabolic runs at the end of this cycle, then if this is your first cycle, you're going to see it firsthand, providing you can be patient long enough, and it'll blow your mind. Literally will blow your mind. You're just in like a constant good mood for a while. So, to answer your question, yes, KASPA could get multiple tier 1s in a 2 or 3 month span. Easily. Could do it in a couple days span. Whether that happens or not is another question. But whether it's possible, yes, it's possible. I've seen it with my own eyes before. Well, the fact that I FOMO'd in at an average of 15, I would just be 15 cents. I would be ecstatic about a 9 cents Caspa. Well, I can promise you that you're going to get more than a 9 cent Caspa this cycle. It kind of amazes me that, and I know Caspa doesn't have all the VC backing that's going to potentially pump the hell out of the price and all that kind of stuff. It may not have the same type of explosive move that some of the VC-backed coins do, because there's not a ton of money behind it pushing it, right? But you're also in a safer scenario because you don't have those same VCs and early buyers that, like this, are going to, like, literally overnight, potentially bring that price right back down to where it was beforehand and lower from everybody taking profits and selling because they got in at a fraction of the price of everybody else. And it's a small amount of people. So, but when people say that Caspa's not going to have a bull cycle and it's done for the cycle, it literally makes me laugh inside. Because I've said this 100 times now, but Caspa, if we get this parabolic run in Q4, let's say, right, hypothetically, and projects are 100xing, projects are 50xing, some projects are 5 or 10xing, some of the bigger market caps, right? And the whole market is just going absolutely apeshit. Caspa is not going to just sit at 8 cents and just chill out and say, okay, see you later, guys. Have fun on the way up. I'm just going to chill here. That's not going to happen. What is the saying? A rising tide lifts all ships. And you can argue that, and this is a fair argument, I don't know if it's going to be true or not, that Caspa won't do the same amount of X's as, some other projects out there, and that's probably true. Right? But I would be surprised if we didn't get at least somewhere between a 5 and 15x. I would be surprised. Especially if everything else is going parabolic. Okay? And the one thing on this note, somebody mentioned this, I think it was actually Infamous last stream. By the way, I don't think he joined us today. But I think he was saying, because I was comparing Chainlink, because it had an excellent 2019, right? It murdered everything else in the market in 2019 and 2020. It was basically, it did a similar rally that Caspa did this last bear market in 2022, 2023. And so the comparison for the two are that Chainlink still, even after demolishing and outgaining everything else in 2019, still did roughly, I want to say like a 15 or 20x in the parabolic part of the bull run. I'm not going to look for it right now. It's going to take me too long, and you guys are going to sit here watching me try to search for it. But I did make a dedicated video on that. It is in my feed somewhere. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you can go back and watch it. It literally outlines everything in comparison to Chainlink's outstanding 2019 bear market run, and then still did pretty well. It didn't outdo a lot of coins because it already did a pretty big pump in the bear market, but it still was very respectable and did like a 20x, if I remember correctly, in the parabolic phase, to Caspa, who outperformed this bear market. Would you be disappointed if Caspa did a 20x or a 15x when it's all said and done? Some people might be disappointed. I would not be. And even, Jack, your average is 15 cents. If you did a 20x from today's price at 8 cents, you're still going to absolutely kill it this cycle. If you did a 15x from today's current price, you're still going to kill it this cycle, right? Because from right now, you're at a 2x, you're back to your average buy-in price, right? And then everything else from there is just euphoria. So even people with a 15 to 20 cent average buy at this point in time are still going to make money this cycle. And if had extra funds, probably should at least be putting some of that money into Caspa still to lower that average down a little bit. At least in my opinion. That's obviously up to you guys. Not financial advice, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. Pranav says, CG is a scammer. He might be. He could be. Wouldn't surprise me. I used to watch him when he was a pretty new YouTuber. I guess the thing I would be disappointed in is him, blatantly telling everybody he doesn't take paid promotions to, that's what he built his channel on. I don't take paid promotions. I don't take money to pump coins. And if he actually is doing it, then that's pretty disappointing. Yeah, Bracco. Yeah, disappointing. But you know what? Sometimes, sorry, my nose itches. Sometimes, you start out with good intentions, and this happens to a lot of industries, and then you get presented right in front of your face with amounts of money that you are just like, wow, never seen that amount of money in one spot before. And your greed takes over, and, the rest is history. Some people will never fall into that. Some people will think that they won't and will end up doing that eventually. And some people are just in it from the beginning to do stuff like that. So, it is one of those things where, if you're telling people you're doing something, you probably shouldn't be doing it behind the back. Like politicians, for instance, are like that. Some go in, I would imagine, some go in with good intentions thinking they're going to do right and change things. And then they're blackmailed or, whatever word you want to throw out there. And they either have to submit to, bad tactics and become the bad guy, or, find a new career. AP, realistically, what's your guess on price action by February 2026? I don't know. I guess I'm in the boat of we should probably have topped out by then. So, man, sorry guys, my nose. I've got air conditioning blasting in my face right here, and it's like messing with my my face, I guess. I'm of the opinion that we'll probably have topped out by February 2026, and we will potentially be, at a point where people are wondering, are we still in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? If things get out of hand, I will have taken all my profits by then. So the price will probably be lower than what the peak is, in my opinion. It depends on what we peak out at, because I still think we're going to top out somewhere between $1 and $3. And so best guess of when that happens and where we're sitting in February of 2026 will probably be lower than, that range, or at the lower end of that range if we top out at the higher end, or vice versa. So it's hard to say. I don't want to tell you guys for sure something's going to happen, because I could easily be wrong. I'm just giving you guys my thoughts and what I think is going to happen, and you guys do with that what you want. I'm just trying to help people out the best I can, I guess. But top of cycle, I'm still thinking between $1 and $3. I hope that answers your question good enough. And February, we could be on our way down from there. I'm considering starting an apprenticeship. Was thinking about plumbing. Do you recommend it? It's for me. It was the best decision I ever made. I was working retail my whole life, and there's not a whole lot of opportunity for what's the word I'm looking for. I'm not trying to talk down on it because I did it for so long, but there's not a whole lot of growth potential, I guess you could say. Um, and the trades in general are very profitable the vast majority of the time. People need it, and uh, you can make a lot of money doing it. My recommendation would just be to find somebody who's very good at what they do and literally just put your head down and learn. Also if you didn't want to go the union route, find a company and get trained. And then the union also, pays well as will actually pay you to go to school to learn and get your different levels of whatever you're going to do. So, but bottom line is it's good money, and if you're willing to put in some hard work, it's not easy. Let me tell you that. So, if you've got the right mindset, you're willing to put in some hard work, and get dirty. It's not clean either. So, then yeah, I would say go for it. Cheers. Surprised Infamous is not here yet. Yeah, I think he's drunk right now, maybe. He says he lives in the Philippines, right on the beach. I still wonder if that's true or not, but I like to imagine that it is. Ims, we are definitely going to experience a bear market. These altcoins would drop 50 to 90 for sure. That's what I still think, yeah. And altcoins are going to drop more than 50%, I can tell you that. Bitcoin will probably still drop 80%. Altcoins will drop 90% or below. If history is any indication, which I still think is going to happen. Like I said, the big players want to get they understand the scenario. They want to get their Bitcoin, their Ethereum, their Solana for cheaper. So, Paul, amazing how stable 8 cents every second of the past month or so, and exchanges have made their KASPAs. Yeah, well, exchanges, though, they buy OTC, so they're buying directly from miners. It doesn't affect the market, but what it does affect is the supply. So, just like big players in Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes periods of time without moving, right? And the big players who are buying a lot of Bitcoin, including Michael Saylor, they a lot of times are buying it OTC, which is over the counter. And they're buying it directly from miners, which have not hit the market yet, right? They're not on exchanges, and so it doesn't affect the price on exchanges. But what it's doing is behind the scenes, the supply is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and that's why everybody is saying at a certain point in time, Bitcoin's going to have this supply crunch where a lot more coins are out there than we think, and there's not nearly as many left as we think. But the same thing's happening, like wallet number 2 and 4 and a few others. They're not buying it. I don't believe on exchanges. Otherwise, the price would be manipulating, right? You'd be seeing it in the price action. Cat is a good man. Don't go to the dark side. I think it would be nice to create a community out of YouTube where we can analyze the market together and get better results. Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to do here. I've been in crypto long enough now where I understand what goes on. And so at some point, what has gone on in the past might change, but I don't think it's changing yet necessarily, or at least changing enough to where we need to worry about it. And I think we're just going to be, status quo. Things are going to happen the same way they've always happened for the most part, and, rinse and repeat into next cycle. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and be like, yep, we should have just assumed that the cycle was going to happen the exact same way it happened the cycle before and the cycle before, because that's what happened this time around, right? I know for a fact, I remember it clear as day last cycle, every YouTuber was telling you that the cycle was going to extend and we were going to have a longer cycle. ETH was going to flip Bitcoin in market cap. Like the stuff that's being said at certain points of parabolic phases of the cycle is just ridiculous. And then none of that usually ever happens. If you just operate with a logical, clear mind and kind of look at what's happened in the past and vaguely follow along with what's happened in the past, most of the time you're going to do just fine because things are going to continue to happen just as they happened in the past. But in order for these big players to confuse people so that we hold our bags longer and they can take their profits before all the retail sells, they need to make you think that the cycle is going longer. Otherwise, you're going to sell before or at the same time as they do, and the price doesn't run up as high, right? And all the retail guys miss the boat usually. The big players know what's going on. They don't hold their bags round trip if they don't want to. But in order for them to make sure that they can lock in their profits and get max amount of gains, they have to tell people the cycle is going to go a little longer so they can sell, when they want to, which is probably going to be Q4 this year. And then a lot of us retail guys are going to hold thinking, hold strong. You're going to have a lot of YouTubers telling you, don't sell yet. The bull run's going to continue. It's going to go into Q3 of next year. And, there might be a time where that happens, but I would not base, especially if we're up in a lot of profit, I would not listen to that and test that. Because it probably won't happen like that. Yes, that is a fact, Paul. 80% of October gains occur in the second half of the month, and October is historically the best month. Yes. And then some Novembers are very good too. But yeah, October is typically a very good month, even outside of post-halving years. But in post-halving years, it's a very good month. And that's usually when we see things really start kicking off, late October. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. And everybody's like, oh, well, rate cuts are going to happen in September. All this is setting up for hopefully a good October, November. But that doesn't mean as soon as the rates get cut this month that we're automatically going to start going up. We'll probably continue to go sideways a little while. At least in altcoins. Bitcoin might perform better because I think it's going to have its next leg up before altcoins really start to outperform. I think altcoins might follow a little bit better this next time around, but yeah, it's going to probably be sometime in October before altcoins really start to move. But like I said, the engines have started revving here and there. You can see the writing on the wall. Again, it's just literally, you just got to be patient long enough to take advantage of the gains and not paper hand your way out of the market with fear on every single pullback and flash crash, because it gets a lot of people out of the market, and that's what they're trying to do. Also, KJI says hit the like button. Don't disappoint KJI or KJ. He's not the type of person you want to disappoint. So make sure you hit the like button. Pay those bar tabs. Just Chillin' says, any news on smart contracts? The only news I have is this month. It's the only thing that I was told. It's the only thing that I've seen KASPA write in a comment to somebody on X asking. Very vague, but it says this month. So we'll see. Take a vacation, bro. You have plenty of time. 2026 will be your year. Well, I'm going to wait until 2026 to take my vacation because that's when all of my gains should have been realized. Right now is not the time to take a vacation, in my opinion, because you need to be on your toes, ready, with your plan set up, ready to take action, I think, in the next few months. What's up, Eric? Is that you in that photo, by the way? You are ripped, if that's the case. I don't think I have the dedication to get to that point. But congratulations. Paul says, I would love a 10X, but a lot of CAS holders were lured in by Moon Boys saying $10 is a lock and 3 is FUD. Yeah, so let me say this. I don't think that CASPA is going to go to $10 this cycle. But I'm also not naive enough, being in crypto long enough now, to say that it is impossible. If all catalysts hit, we have this crazy alt season, anything is possible. Everything's on the table. Which is why I say, don't ever focus on price targets. Because we could top out at 50 cents this cycle, or we could top out at $10. Or anywhere in between. But I would say most logically, the $1 to $3 range makes the most sense to me. And I will never tell anybody that we're for sure going to $10 because that would be dishonest, and the chances of that are probably pretty slim. Now, if it gets there, I would be extremely happy. Extremely happy. I would never work again in my life. And I think I would still do YouTube, actually, though. I think. I can't guarantee that, but I think. I mean, I don't make any money doing this right now anyway, so it would be nice to make some sort of income doing this, and maybe I will at some point. But the last thing I want to do, I want to create something that that has a ton of value, that I feel comfortable if people wanted to give me money for it, then I would feel morally right about doing that, right? I don't think, pump and dumping buy alerts on altcoins is moral enough for me to charge people money for. So I actually do have something in my mind, in the works. Obviously, it's going to be elective. You don't have to pay me money for anything. And this is going to happen sometime in the bear market. I'm too worried and focused on this bull cycle right now to start anything. But it's going to create a ton of value, in my opinion, where I think it will help a lot of people. And then there will be other perks as well. Fun hangout and Discord and all that will be involved as well. But Um, I guess just throwing that out there. I'll still do plenty of free live streams too for people who don't want to pay money or people who, want to watch YouTube for free. But that's something that I'm working on in the background, or at least thinking about working on in the background at this point in time. And I think it will create a ton of value and help people out a lot navigating next cycle. Also, I do have a couple interviews coming up. Collaboration with another Caspa YouTuber, as well as an interview with somebody outside of the direct influencer space, I guess you could say. I'm not going to give any names or dates yet, but I want to let you guys know that I have some things planned on the schedule this month, actually, for some cool interviews and some collabs with some other people to try and keep things a little more fun, I guess you could say, in these annoying times that we're sitting in right now. So be on the lookout for those in the near future. I think the Casplex hate is coming from the fact that they delayed their smart contract. They had a set date and then they didn't make that date. What they probably should have done is not put a line in the sand with a date, and they should have just do what they're doing right now and saying it'll be live sometime in September. But I think that's why they're getting some hate. That hate will go away. It's just people are bored and annoyed and frustrated right now because there's nothing happening, and it seems like nothing's ever going to happen, and that's just the temperament of people during these types of long stretches in the market. So you just have to deal with it. It comes with the territory. A lot of people just don't understand the scenario. So. I bet what the goat says, win Lambo. Hopefully in a few months. Goat, hopefully in a few months. Hopefully we're all buying Caspa colored Lambos in a few months. And then we can all show them off on social media. Saul Hernandez says, one more dump to 7 cents before we moon. There's a chance that the bottom has not formed yet this month, and I think it'll form this month, unless it's in early October. But usually around the time when we get down to a certain amount of rate cutting, that means that the economy is sick, right? There's a reason why they're rate cutting. The job market's not good. The economy's not good. We're potentially in or on the verge of a recession, and that's why they start cutting rates, and that's why the market usually dumps around that time. They start cutting rates, and then everything kind of V-shapes back up, depending on the scenario. V-shape could take a couple months, but so yeah, it would not surprise me if we do see. It's very possible. Let's just put it that way. And it could be as simple as a flash crash, and it could be something sustained down in that area for a little while. Who knows? But I think it was it Paul who said earlier, late October is usually when we start seeing big movements. So hopefully that's the case this year. Yeah, Archetype, he just I don't know how guys actually listen to him, because his just like the way he says things, and you can tell there's he's got a little jar of snake oil just by listening to him talk next to him that he's trying to sell people. That's just my opinion. But yeah, Blaze was, I think, clearly his project, and it rugged hard. Massimo, I wish we would top out at $1 to $3, but somehow it's hard for me to believe. It's hard for you to believe. Is if this is your first cycle? I completely understand that, because you go through periods like we're in right now where it feels like everything's impossible, and things can flip bullish literally on a dime. With a snap of a finger. Like I said, the powers that be will open up those floodgates and push that open button. And then it's going to be hard for you to believe that we could ever go down to a certain price again. And it's just the ebbs and flows of the market. But like I said, there's a chance we don't make it to the dollar mark. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just telling you guys what I think is going to happen. So, it's basically we'll see what happens, and we'll pivot, if we have to from there. But the one thing I will say though is just again, I'm reiterating, but for those of you who have not seen a bull market in its last phase, in its parabolic phase, things that you don't think could happen a lot. And so it's understandable why there's people that don't think certain things could happen right now. But I will tell you, when and if we get that parabolic phase, hopefully Q4 this year, it's going to come out of nowhere, and it's going to be fast and violent, and it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. In a good way. Can Caspa get to $5 this year? Yeah, it's possible. I don't think it's probable, though. For the record. Anything's possible. Like I said earlier, I think $10 is technically possible. But I don't think it's probable at all. Because the market cap would just have to be too high. The overall market cap would have to go to places I don't think it's going to go to this cycle. The overall crypto market cap, in order for Caspa to hit $10. So I don't think it's probable at all. But I've seen crazier things. $5. Caspa hitting $5 is not as crazy as some things that I've seen in this market in the past. So that's what I'll say about that. El Jefe says, stay humble, my friend. When CG started, he was humble, but money changes people, and he lost his head somewhere along the way. Stay humble like you are now. That is my plan. I don't plan on changing who I am at all. And I've never changed my whole life. I was raised this way. And so I don't plan on changing from the way I am right now. I plan on making all of my money in the market and not making my money from pump and dumping coins. Well, people pay me to pump and dump coins through buy alerts. That's definitely not my plan. Because I don't think it's... I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I would go to bed at night thinking that I, fucked somebody up. You can mess people's lives up doing that, man. Because some people don't have a whole lot of money, and this is like their bet, and they trust somebody on the internet telling them that this is the next meme coin that's going to make you rich. and they dump the coin on you, that person loses all their money. Like, I can't, the scenarios that would run through my head if I was ever doing something like that, and the potential of me ruining people's life, literally, financially, would not sit well with me. So, on that note, guys, we're going to take off for the night. I got to go eat dinner because I'm hungry. I appreciate everybody for being here. Make sure you pay your bar tabs on your way out. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and be on the lookout for some interesting interview/collab videos coming up this month. I will try and make some more dedicated videos this next week as well, if there's enough news that warrants me to do so that I don't have to get on screen and just tell you, buy Caspa at 8 cents. It's a very good buy. You are going to be sorry if you don't. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a robot. So, in the meantime, guys, continue to pack your damn bags before it's too late.